This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Let's get right into the news. All right, so what we're talking about, we're kind of breaking everything down here, okay? The Migos, they started from Gwinnett County. Early, 2000, I would say 2009, 2010, but they had been rapping for a long time. They're from north Atlanta, like north of the city, past Atlanta, and they're a family. You got Takeoff, you got his cousin Offset, and you got his uncle Quavo. They're actual family. And they started in the trenches. They always give throwback pictures of when they were. Look, this is Quavo and Takeoff right here, and they actually redid this picture at one point recently. I think this was their way of announcing that they're going to end this how they started it together, because Offset wasn't even around in the beginning. The Migos were just Takeoff and Quavo in the beginning, and that's how people knew him, because Offset was actually in jail. They actually met Gucci Mane at one point, and Gucci Mane, this is another, people can't forget that Gucci Mane is the one that found the Migos. They were hanging around his studio, meeting producers in his studio, and eventually Gucci Mane just gave them to his friend QCP, and that's what started QC, the label. Now Coach K and QC met each other through Gucci Mane, because Coach K was managing Gucci Mane at the time, and Pierre, who's really QCP, was looking to start a label. They joined together and started a force called QC, and Migos were their first rap group, and they had the breakout song Bando, where in that video you can see them with free Offset shirts. They kept it real. They kept it real with him, because he was in jail and they were doing shows, they were doing Bando, and eventually they came out with Versace, where Drake jumped on, and they started that relationship. But they were still putting money aside for Offset. They were keeping it real with him. And so when he came home, he had a bag, and he could shine like them. So they were just splitting their money up in threes and putting his aside. That's the realest thing I've ever heard in my life. That's why you get them broken up later, because Quavo really stands on loyalty. Now, as of recently, we've seen them breaking up, which is heartbreaking. We really kind of saw we saw them all do solo albums in 2018 and 19, and we expected that to happen, so they had their own money and they could kind of get their own money on their own. Quavo was doing a lot of features. Offset was doing a lot of features. Takeoff doesn't do so many features. He was very low-key, But, you saw Offset dropping a single, and it was on Jimmy Fallon. And, he was... And then you saw the announcement of Infinity Link's album. So this all happened within the past 4 or 5 months. The Migos are actually breaking up. And they had dropped an album last year, The Straightening, the song was Straightening and everything on it, It was... it's heartbreaking to see a group not stay together, But we always did. We started out just knowing Quavo and Takeoff, so they were just getting back to that. They even did interviews talking about, we're going to do the duo now. And you got a little tidbits of why they broke up, because over the summer you saw Offset having a problem with QC and being very public about that, saying he wanted to be free on his own. He dropped a video. And you are wondering, is this stemming from the Migos problem they had in 2020, where they thought QC was taking money from them, the accounting was off? But you saw that it wasn't, because Quavo and Takeoff were still going to drop an album on QC. They weren't going to just go straight with Motown. Offset went straight with Motown and tried to cut QC out, and he tried to buy himself out of his contract. Which is weird, because they all started together, and there's always QCP seems the type of guy that can work through everything business-wise, and make it right. So, Quavo on the album alluded to the fact that, him and Saweetie, remember he had that relationship with Saweetie and they had that breakup. He claims it was over. He said Carisha's messy, talking about Carisha, please, because that's her podcast, Carisha Young Miami from the group City Girls. She has a podcast on Revolt with Diddy, and she had Saweetie on there, and she was talking about how much she loved Quavo and everything in the past and everything. And, Quavo thought that was messy because he never really spoke about the breakup, but he kind of put it out there that she smashed one of the homies, and then people assume that is Offset, because something happened between Offset and Quavo, and Takeoff was kind of in the middle of the situation, because you can tell in the interviews when, Quavo's like, we're going to go on as a duo, we stand on loyalty. You could tell Takeoff really hopes that they do get back together. He liked the trio, he wants everyone to just get along and make money. But sometimes things happen where it puts a wedge between things. I think Cardi B, even though, you got to move on at some point, Offset has his family with Cardi B and everything. I think she was a wedge between him and the group, getting in his ear about QC, because remember, she was managed by QC and then stopped getting managed by QC at one point. Offset was a big catapult to her career, along with the single she was dropping. And they sometimes, when a guy and a girl get together, we've all seen this with our friends, we've probably seen this with ourselves, sometimes you can kind of lose yourself in the relationship and you feel like it's you two against the world, when you forget about like the people you started businesses with and everything, and you start taking sides. So Cardi B was very defensive about that rumor that Offset slept with Saweetie, because it would mean that he cheated on her again with somebody else. So Cardi B says, why y'all deleted my comments? The rumor will be addressed on Offset album. She was leaving comments under the rumor, and she said that rumor will be addressed on Offset's album. Stay tuned. So Offset I wonder if he'll still be that low and do that, or this tragedy could either bring Offset and Quavo back together, or it could drive them farther apart. Because what if Offset tries to blame Quavo, like, oh, you were having an argument and he wasn't safe, and it's possible, like I hope it brings them closer together, because this is a time where you need family, but this isn't the first dice game, and we'll get to that dice game in a minute, where Takeoff lost his life, but this isn't the first dice game that resulted in something weird. There's no footage of this one, but there's a rumor that, and it's pretty much like a lot of people confirm this, but it's a rumor, right? You got to say rumor because there's no footage proving this. Nobody talks about it. And I got to admire QCP for kind of putting the lid on that as much as possible so the artists don't talk about it. But 42 Doug was a newer artist, right? This is before he dropped this song with Little Baby in 2020. This is like 2019. He's playing dice at the studio with Offset. Offset lose like 5 bands to him, or maybe 50. I think it was 50,000 actually. Wants some of his money back, and he says, "Nah, you're dead on that money. It's over, right?" So a little argument ensues. 4PF, which 42 Doug signed to 4PF/CMG. So argument ensues. They allegedly strip Offset down, beat him up. QCP puts stops it before it gets too out of hand, puts Offset in his vehicle and sends him home. Little Baby never talks about this, but you could tell he had an issue with the Migos, especially when they dropped their last album together, and he was commenting on a boxing match where they came out, And so I think Charlamagne's like, oh, wow, there's your label mates there. They did straightening. And then Little Baby laughed, so he has straightening. Those guys, basically calling them clowns. Because, of course, they're going to take the side of Offset. And they're not going to mess with Little Baby anymore. And I think that caused a wedge in 2020 between QC and Migos, where they, had a lawyer looking into the finances. Of course, Offset was charged up, mad that could have happened at QC, and was probably blaming everybody. I think that's why he's still mad at QC right now, because that happened at their studio, which should have never happened, but things get out of control, So, Little Baby recently said, he had good things to say about Takeoff. I mean, who could not say good things about Takeoff? Takeoff is a quiet guy. Nobody ever had anything bad to say about Takeoff, because he is, he's just a quiet person that just wants to rap. Little Baby put the statement out that he said, he was always a cool guy. No matter what, anytime we see each other, it's always, I love you, I'm proud of you. I hate this for him. And, I believe that was sincere, because I think he only has really problems with Offset. And it's not even his problem, it's really a problem with 42 Doug and Offset that got out of control. Anyways, this is what caused a riff. And I think this, everything is a domino effect, right? So I think this, added in with some other things, caused Offset to want to break off on his own and them to go off in a duo. I think there's just Quavo and Offset just couldn't get along. I'm sure Offset felt betrayed that they were going to stay on QC, and he said, well, I'm going to go do my own thing. Also, maybe he smashed Sweetie. I don't know, maybe she smashed Offset before Quavo even got in the picture, and then he found out later. I don't know, but and I don't think we'll ever know that now at this point, and it doesn't matter. This is the night. Now, when you split apart, sometimes people feel like they got to go and get down with the roughest and toughest people and show that they're out there and they're unified and, don't mess with us. We're connected. And, they went out to hang out with Jazz Prince and Jay Prince Jr. at their bowling event. You can see, Takeoff posted a picture earlier that evening. You can see them rolling around the city. They went to Johnny Dang's. They were hitting Houston. They were going around. They went through the 5th Ward. You can see them in the car. At one point, you can even see a weapon on the seat. So they felt comfortable. They were with Jazz Prince and Jay Prince Jr. The rumors about those two. They control the city. This is them in the bowling alley. They're shooting dice in the bowling alley, playing bowling. And then later that night, you see the dice game where Jay Prince Jr. walks past Takeoff's body. Then you start seeing rumors that this guy, as you watch the footage more, you see a guy in a hoodie that had a weapon. And then you see a guy, Migo Bands, which is Quavo's brother, had a weapon. The Migos manager had a weapon. I'm sure plenty of mob ties guys. You hear women doing their recounts of that night that those guys are the only guys that really had weapons in there, because everyone gets searched. It was a small gathering of 40, 50 people. After the bowling alley closed, they continued playing dice outside. Obviously, people have liquor in their system and everything. Allegedly, Jay Prince Jr. and Quavo get into an argument about dice game. Mind you, don't forget, just a few months prior to this, Jay Prince Jr. was at a dice game with Duke the Jeweler and Boosie. Duke the Jeweler passed away later on that evening in that parking lot. Fast forward, we're at this point. Quavo wants to walk away. He says, I'm done with this. But before I hurt somebody's feelings, I'm out of here. The guy in the colorful hoodie raises up. Bong. Takeoff's dead. Then gunfire gets exchanged. A girl gets hit. Quavo's assistant gets hit. I think the girl got hit in the head but survived. Quavo's assistant survived. Takeoff get hit again, didn't survive. We see Jay Prince Jr. walk past. We see the guy with the colorful hoodie, known as Little Cam. He's there. Migos bands. We see a manager with a weapon. All of these people are persons of interest, and they're the ones that really have to, and people that are there really have to piece together how this happened. What was the chain of events that caused this to happen? Who fired first? Who returned fire? A lot of people are going to go to jail behind this. People are going to go to jail for murder, attempt murder. You know, I don't care if it was you're shooting back and you hit somebody in the head by accident. That's still manslaughter, of some kind. People are going to be doing 10 years, 20 years behind this. A lot of people will go to jail. At least 4 people will be going to jail probably behind this. The most tragic part is Takeoff is gone. Had nothing to do with this. It's sickening. People need to come forward, I would say. I know there's this code, but this is a different kind of tragedy. This isn't a street thing. This is some people playing dice and somebody died. A beloved member of the hip-hop community. Someone that was very talented, nice, just wanted to practice his craft, was not into practicing anything he was talking about in his music. He was just a rapper, and a great one at that. He was somebody's son, somebody's uncle, and he had a long life ahead of him, a great life. He did so much by 28. He had so much more to do. He had a whole solo career, I'm sure, He was just getting I believe most of the Migos were just getting started in their career. So we'll have to see how this goes on after this. This is the Migos Bands guy. This is the candlelight vigil that took place in Atlanta just the other day. Jay Prince Jr. paid his respects and let people know that we're there that night, that we're part of Mob Ties, that they can't hide behind him. Certain people shouldn't have weapons. He spoke about how he admired and loved the Migos, and they felt like they were family, and he can't believe this happened under his watch in his city. Then we had Offset did a light tribute because there were issues between him and Quavo and Takeoff at the time, and they weren't speaking, so he had to do a light tribute. Cardi B did a tribute. Sauce Walka, a known guy, rapper in Houston, wished they were with him. He felt like he could have protected them more. Jazz Prince didn't like that. He was alluding to the fact that Jazz Prince couldn't protect them. They don't have that power in the city anymore. That's what he's saying. Jazz Prince said, "What are you trying to say?" He said, "I said what I said. You got my number." Jazz Prince is Jay Prince's son. He's the one that found Drake. Then you have Jazz Prince also said, "I don't like to hear about things happening anywhere, especially in my city. I was woken up with a call about this. I couldn't believe. I'm with you, Quavo. Prayers up." I don't know if Quavo is so apt to be with anybody from Mob Ties. They shouldn't have felt unsafe that night. Nobody should have felt like they should have had weapons out if they were all family, right? An argument's an argument, right? If you're with family, it's an argument and you go home. Maybe a fist fight at most, not weapons. Over a dice game? QCP was devastated. He knew this. He knew Takeoff since he was 18, probably. He says, "I don't know where to begin." But I want to say that anybody that knows knows me knows how much I love you. He goes on to talk about there's no coming back. I want our community to remember we don't have to continue with the violence. I'm going to keep your name alive. Then he talks about the family. He talks about he'll forever love him, and then how important he was to him. That they were. It was like a son to him. I would have to say. 50 Cent reposted this message. I'm sure 50 Cent had nothing to say. This is devastating, man. It's hard to like react to every death. It's like it gets to be a bit much. And I know 50 Cent always admired what QCP was doing in Atlanta. He was building his own empire, and he did. You have a lot of artists. So what will happen from here, we'll see. Hopefully Offset and Quavo can come together as family and at least be there for each other during this time. I don't know if they'll ever get back together. I don't think the music will ever be the same. I don't know if Quavo will even want to do music after this, to be honest with you. He had the memory, the things that are in his mind right now. They're trying to revive Takeoff. I feel so bad for him. He lost his nephew in front of him and saw his life leave. I feel so bad for Quavo, and I feel so bad for Takeoff's mom and his family and everybody that's that personally knew him and are devastated by this. But we will see. Either Offset will blame Quavo or they'll come together. We'll see. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. This is Jordan Tower, JT News.